Hello everyone. Happy New Year 2023. I hope all of you have been doing well. It's been some time that I have posted a video. It's been crazy years so far. Totally caught up with things. So sorry that I couldn't take some time out for recording and all that stuff. So um, let's get started. So today we are going to talk about something which I got something from our comment section. So one of our friends, listening friends, he wanted to understand a bit more of Kanban planning in detail. So this would be one of those videos. Would try and understand how Kanban estimation works, or is there even a thing called Kanban estimation, or how actually it works in our project or team. So let's get started from there. Now, first of all, the question comes: is there even a thing called Kanban estimation? To be honest, the word estimation is very poorly used in today's world, and we often think and we often go back to the way we do estimation in Scrum, right? And that's where all the problem starts, because we fix our mind somewhere into those story pointing and all that stuff, and then from there there's velocity and all that stuff comes. So we think estimation, and we go into that discussion. Estimation is a good thing, bad thing, and all that stuff. But basically, if you see what we are trying to do through estimation, that's what is important here, right? So when you are talking about estimation, you are basically trying to forecast, right? So that you understand how you are going to utilize your capacity. That is art, right? So this is all you need, that how am I going to manage my capacity, utilize my capacity accordingly, and plan better. So estimation is basically a planning tool which you are going to use, right? So whether it's Scrum, whether it's Kanban, whether it's a normal project, how do you do that, right? So it's not necessarily that Kanban has a different estimation process, or Scrum has a different estimation process, or any other project has a different estimation process. Basically, we are trying to understand the basic of estimation or forecasting. Now let's try to understand how we are going to do using our Kanban strategy, right? So basically, you want to understand how much you can work on work items uh, in a in a given period of time, right? For example, you want to understand that how much capacity you can plan per 10 days, right? In every 10 days, because in 10 days you don't have any iteration in Kanban. So 10 days or 15 days or 5 days, whatever you feel suitable to. So in 10 days, how do you know how much capacity you need? So probably the best answer is that we need to look at the history, right? That how much did we do in our past 10 days? That could be a good example. That's how forecasting is, right? It's obviously, it's not no precise number. There isn't any. This is based on more of an experience. This is based more of perception that we have, right? There is no science or logic behind it that you come up with exactly number, right? Exact number, because you're dealing with business life, which is not linear, which is non-linear in fashion, chaotic in nature, right? It might change at any point of time. So we are just trying to have that kind of a forecast. So you have one very important lean metric, which is called cycle time, right? Now the cycle time could be very useful in having estimation. So how much, so there are different type of cycle time that we are going to discuss here. The first one, the cycle time is for the overall in process, for the work item, right? So for example, take any work item that you have. That work item, how much time it's taking for completing one cycle, from in progress, so when it's getting started, to the done, right? Now that will give you that, okay, this work item took this much of time for completion, and in 10 days how much work item you have done. That could give you one idea. That's the first thing. Now the problem where it becomes is, and that's called throughput, by the way, right? But the problem that becomes with Kanban is that you have different sizes of stories and all that, and you would say, hey, for example, in Scrum, when you do this story pointing, if you are doing a story pointing, you get a quantified number, right? 56, 40, something. So you can correlate it with different things, and you can understand it. But if we are doing like in Kanban, number of stories, some work items or stories could be huge, some could be small, some could be medium. So how do you do it? Right? So the way to deal with it is to break or make work items similar in size. So it could be medium or long or small or large, whatever. The thing is, there isn't any, you don't have to really follow this invest formula, invest criteria, and all that for that. You can break those things into smaller tasks, and those tasks can flow through your can flow through your system, and you can understand how much you can forecast, how much you can do in 10 days or 15 days, right? Now, I'll talk about the challenges more than the estimation. What are the challenges that you have in doing so? The challenges are that majority of the Kanban, the way we work is that we can have huge chunk of work which takes more than 1 month or 2 months or something like that, right? And that could be a problem because what happens when things are on mode, they do not move easily, right? So then they're sitting there, and for example, if the process is very chaotic, what will happen, the work items is of 2 months or 3 months, and new item keep coming, and that item is crawling, or almost people have stopped doing it because of higher priority items which are coming into their backlog. They're picking it up, and it's killing that, and even work in progress limit becomes very very useless at that point of time, because you have work items which needs to be delivered. However, another work items which are random, maybe tickets which are coming, they need to also be picked up. So it becomes very chaotic. So what needs to be done is, precisely when you have those stories or any requirement, break those into smaller tasks, so that when you pick those items into your system, when you're flowing through those system, it becomes easier for you to flow through, right? So ensure that the work items make it small, right? Any size which is small, and small could be 1 to 3 days, so that in 1 to 3 days there are some movement on your board. So if you get stuck up with some other things, you can still move that. 1 to 3 days is still, you can move that. If you have a work item which takes, suppose 1 month, and you are again occupied with other things, it will take up 2 months or 3 months, because that's a huge, right? And that would create a problem in your forecasting. That will create problem in estimation. It doesn't matter how much do you estimate, it will not work, right? You would not be able to understand because it's very chaotic. So in order to manage that chaos, in order to understand that chaos, the first thing that you need to do is break work items into smaller work items, first thing. The second thing is the incoming work that is coming. There are some work even in Kanban which are planned, some are unplanned. It could be a case, or it could be a case which entire work item which are coming are unplanned. Something like a network, something tickets coming from customer or something, where you get the tickets, you analyze, and you start working, right? So in that case, everything is unplanned. Now in those cases, again, what happens, there is nothing planned that you have planned. So as forecasting, what would the forecasting do here? The purpose of forecasting, the forecasting would be only for to understand the capacity of the team, right? So what you are doing is, you are trying to understand that how many work items actually can flow through, right? And those you can get it through the throughput, right? Or you can use the probability approach, where you can use this historical data and say 90% of the time this happens, or 80% of the time this happens. But in order to do that also, you need to come to that stage where you can flow through your system smoothly. That's the hardest part, right? So you see, the problem with Kanban estimation is that we need to understand the purpose of it. If you know the purpose, it will help you. For example, when that's very difficult for in Scrum. What happens in Scrum? You have iterations, right? Fixed iterations. So you know, okay, for 14 days or 15 days or 10 days, for this 10 days, I need to plan, and you have planned items ready, so you can plan according to the capacity, right? In Kanban, you do not have that limited time, right? So even if you plan for 10 days and there is uncertainty attached to it, right? Plenty of uncertainty, right? You don't really have any scope of planning the capacity there. So how do you plan capacity, or how do you plan in Kanban, right? You plan whatever the visibility you have, right? If it is the visibility for one day, you plan for one day. If you have visibility for 5 days, you plan for 5 days. If you have visibility for 10 days, you plan for 10 days. So it all depends on your visibility, how much you have. So how much capacity planning you should do till the time you have visibility, right? So if you have visibility of one day, you need to plan for one day, and that's where you need the capacity, right? So I'm going to work. So with this throughput, you are going to understand that how much you work on a day with this resources, with the particular number of human capital that you have, right? And you say, okay, 5 smaller sized work items that you deliver, just for an example, 90% of the time, right? So what we would do, we'd say these are the 5 that will be in your to backlog, right? And there will be others in backlog. So in case you finish, you go there, obviously according to the priority. So that could help you in planning things, right? And that's all it does. There isn't anything else it's required, right? So let's try to summarize again. First thing, uh, make sure that all your work items are of similar sizes, preferably smaller sizes, 1 to 3 days. You don't need the all that invest criteria here. You can break work items according to logical ends, right? Smaller ends or something like that, or even just continuation of your stories, the entire requirement, so that it can flow through easily through the system. Because if it is smaller, it flows easily. That's a very basic concept. The second thing is that you need estimation or forecasting for planning. Now, how much do you plan? You plan uh, whatever the visibility you have. If you have visibility for one day, you plan for one day. If you have for 10 days, you plan for 10 days. Now, that estimation that you are going to get through cycle time, or you can have, if you want, you can even have estimation or forecasting for each of the stages, right? We work with the cycle time itself, that 5 stories when you have smaller size, that 5 stories, we actually move five work items for complete in development, right? Or in QA or something similar. So each step cycle time also can give you that forecasting, that this is what amount we do, right? So you can do that as well. So one day you plan for one day, 10 days you plan for 10 days, with the estimation that you are going to create. So you actually include both deterministic and probabilistic approach, and with the historical data you see that with this much of amount of work items go through my system in one day most of the time. So what is that most of the time? Maybe 90% or 80%, and accordingly you can plan. I hope that helps. But if you have more questions, please do put. We can explain it live. I'm planning to have a black whiteboard where I can explain things to you as well, in case you need more. But basically, if you want to understand more, if you can tell me that what is the purpose of your planning, why do you want to plan, what are the things that you are going, what are the outcome that you are looking for in your plan, I could help you more there. I Till that time, please do comment and share your thoughts, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.